Welcome to Movie House Cinemas. Popcorn? Yes, please. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the movie. Reclining chairs? Don't mind if I do. Action, thriller, romance, we got it all. Discover the cinema today. Movie House Cinemas, home of the movies.
Good evening, and welcome along to Rob and Elliott tonight. What a show we have for you this evening, including some Halloween stuff. Of course, it is Halloween weekend. I'll be chatting to radio royalty Tony Blackburn a little bit later on. We'll also find out about this year's Belfast Film Festival, including something scary, Haunted Ulster Live. More about that a little bit later on. And also footballing legend Gerry Armstrong also joins us too. But as always, let's begin the show with this week's big talking points. It is Halloween week. We've got to talk about all things haunted. To help us do that, the lovely Kim Kelly's with us. How are you?
Feeling very spooky.
You look kind of spooky and scary. And sultry sitting there today.
Thank you, I think.
So how haunted then is Northern Ireland?
Well, I did a little bit of research and I began to feel very unsettled. We're very haunted. Now, I don't know whether you really believe in haunted things. A lot of people do, a lot of people don't.
Yes.
It's never happened to me. I've never been haunted. I've never seen a ghost. But reading some of these, I began to feel a bit, you just feel a little bit...
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
So I discovered the most haunted place in Britain is here in Northern Ireland.
Where? Tell us.
So it's on the Upper Malone Road, which I actually really liked because it means that we've got a better class of ghosts. And of all the places it could have been, the Upper Malone Road, like it couldn't have been anywhere else, near the entrance to Lady Dixon Park.
Now, I know the little stretch of road you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's between Lady Dixon's and the little turn-off, and then you've got Bob Stewart's pub as well.
Yes.
Further. It's that little area, which, yes, I've heard about this.
And it's a mother and a baby who apparently drowned in the lake.
Right.
And she appears holding her baby in front of cars. So then the car obviously slams on the brake, gets out, and she's not there.
Right, okay. And people have seen this.
People have seen this a lot.
Right, okay.
I don't know, is this collective hysteria? I try and be rational about these things.
Yeah.
But people say they've seen it. But it's not the only haunted place, of course, Ballygally Castle.
We know that, yes. I mean, I've been in the haunted room.
What do you think of that? Remember in that?
It's a kind of cold feeling in it, but nothing happened to me when I was in it. But
we need to go ghost hunting.
We need to go ghost hunting. I went ghost hunting once in Crumlin Road Jail. Now, that's scary.
Is it scary? I mean, do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, I went down the tunnel in the dark.
Right.
And there were some things that have happened, and I will tell you about that later on. But things did happen in Crumlin Road Jail the night that I was there. I
don't know. Then I found the most strange place in Northern Ireland that is haunted.
Where?
Castle Court Shopping Centre. Okay, so this is strange, and I don't know why I don't know about this. Obviously, sorry, Castle Court PR department. Now, it hasn't been seen for 100 years. So don't be expecting to go in there, and shopping round at New Look and to hear the screams. No. So it used to be the site of the Grand Central Hotel.
Yes.
And apparently there was a gas fitter.
Right.
This is so random. And called Scotty Shoe.
Right.
It sounds like I'm making this up, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
And he haunts what was the Castle Court Shopping Centre.
Wow.
But it was only when it was the previous incarnation, maybe whenever they flattened it.
Right, okay.
It then is no longer haunted, but apparently it's the upper parts of it. So, I don't know, should we bring our paranormal equipment?
I do know a paranormal investigator.
Yeah, why am I not surprised?
I think we could get him down to check this out.
But I just thought it was weird.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that. And it's such a sort of ordinary place. It's brightly lit. It's go ghost hunting in Castle Court.
I once did a radio show late at night, and a radio station was in an old church, and that building was haunted, and the ghosts used to lock me in the studio. The door used to shut tight, and I used to shout, the true story, we have it on camera somewhere, where I shout, "Let me out." And whenever I shouted that, the doors just opened.
Had you been drinking?
No.
See, so many people have stories like this, and I want, like, the rational part of my brain says, wise up.
Yeah.
But then we come to a very recent ghost story. Well, recent in that it's not hundreds of years ago. So this happened in 1989. Now, 1989, as we all know, in Belfast, the Troubles were still rampaging. Internationally, we had the Tiananmen Square disaster, things like that. So this didn't make really big news at the time. And it was a family called the Skillans from West Belfast, and they lived in 91 Beechmount Grove.
Right, okay.
Do you know the story?
I don't know the story, I know the area.
Right, so the house is no longer there.
Right, okay.
So they began to experience strange things began to happen in their house. There was a man and a woman, so the man John, glasses broke in their hands, windows broke, they heard voices, they were thrown across the room, John was slapped in the face. This went on for months.
Right, okay.
Now, at the time they contacted the housing executive. Anybody listening to this who's you know where I'm going with this, they weren't that bothered, you know. But of course, you know, obviously historically, you know, there was people needing moved houses probably greater need. They contacted a priest who came, they brought neighbours in. A lot of people witnessed this stuff. It wasn't just them.
Wow.
A lot of people. Yeah. A lot of people witnessed this, to the point where 100 people came and stood outside and did the prayers and rosary and things like that.
Wow.
Now, it made the Irish News in a little sort of column here.
Yes, yeah.
But it didn't really make the other papers. I think I've seen a clipping of Ivan Little talking about it.
Right, okay.
So it made UTV, but only as a kind of jokey sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But this went on for months and months and months, and eventually they moved. They couldn't stand it any longer.
Is John still around? If John's still around,
I don't think he is. John wrote a book.
Right.
So John wrote a book called 91 Beechmount Grove or something like that about what had happened. Now somebody else, the housing executive, very, you know, not wasting any money or time, moved somebody else in. So I've no idea whether the next people were haunted as well or whether the haunting was attached to the Skillans.
Or did the 100 people come and get rid of it?
I don't know. It was still there, so they were forced to move.
Right, okay.
He wrote this book, which apparently is very interesting. You can still get the book. It changes hands for quite big money on eBay. It's like £100.
Right,
It's quite a good book.
Wow.
The children, they're still the Skillan children. They don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I guess I wouldn't want to talk about it. You don't want to attract attention.
Exactly.
And the house was demolished.
Right.
Thus ending the saga of 91 Beechmount.
That's
so
scary.
Weird,
I
isn't
didn't
it?
know that. That's
I find
fascinating.
that quite chilling.
It is, isn't it?
And again, because of the time that it was set in, you know, we all grew up during the Troubles, and that was the headline news.
Yeah.
Anything else was just sort of, and finally, you know, it wasn't really. If that happened now, that'd be front page news.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so strange.
There we go.
But let's turn to more cheerful matters.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a really good crop of pumpkins this year. Because pumpkins need really warm weather, with lovely weather in June and then really rainy weather.
Yes.
So apparently the pumpkins are overflowing. It's wonderful. Which actually leads me to believe, have you been recently to a pumpkin patch? Of course, there was no such thing as pumpkin patches whenever we were growing up.
Springing up all over the place.
But they aren't real pumpkins. Well, they are real pumpkins.
Yes.
But they're literally bought from the supermarket and placed onto mud. And like it's not like you go to America and you've got to cut it with a knife off the vine. Do they grow it like a?
Do they grow a vine? I never thought about
I think
that.
It's called a vine, and you cut it. Any pumpkin farmers watching? Sorry. So basically, these days we all go to pumpkin. You know, it's a thing you do. You go to the pumpkin farm, but it's like they've been in Lidl or Tesco, and they've bought like a job lot of pumpkins and they've placed them on the grass.
Right. Okay.
And for £15, you go along and get a picture. Like you could literally go in. You could go pumpkin patch in Lidl. But it wouldn't be the same. You could hold your child. And I did sort of think of it. I thought, what have we become?
Yeah.
What have we become as a nation? There was no such thing as pumpkins whenever we were growing up. It was a turnip.
I had a turnip when I was a child. We
and
had
it was
turnips,
like,
yes.
you know, like carving a turnip's not easy.
Yes, your hand was covered in blisters and carved.
But you didn't give up.
No, you didn't give up.
And you didn't have a tea light. You had a cut-down candle.
Cut-down candle.
We didn't have costumes. We had false faces. Do you remember those?
Yes, exactly.
Now, we called them masks, but I know in Belfast they referred to them as false faces.
They did,
and you put that on with a bin bag, and that was it.
That was it, yeah.
Halloween, you didn't have fireworks for obvious reasons because we weren't trusted with them. Actually, we probably still can't be trusted with them. We had sparklers, or do you remember the indoor fireworks?
I remember the indoor fireworks,
They were dreary, to say the least. They were absolutely dreary.
Yeah.
You bobbed for apples and you had an apple tart. and you went trick-or-treating, and that was really it.
And now people are spending hundreds on their
Decorating their
Halloween
houses.
costumes. Like you're having a Halloween costume this year.
Yes, right this year I'm going out for Halloween. So what are you doing for Halloween? So much going on.
There is, yes. There's loads going on.
So much
especially
going on.
up in Derry, which of course is the Halloween capital, isn't it?
Of the world, in
fact.
Of
the world, I think, isn't it?
There's so much happening. So over in Ebrington Square, they're doing a massive Halloween extravaganza. They take it over there and there's a carnival and all that stuff. It's really good. I've been. It's colossal.
Yeah.
So, but if you go back over the bridge to the walls, they're doing the Awakening of the Walls, which is just another extravaganza of lights and fireworks and people dancing about. I can't even explain it. You'd be better like going on the website and looking at it, because explaining it just sounds a bit strange, but the whole city is just turned into a lighting show.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody's dressed up. And then there's another fabulous thing happening in St Column's Hall. It's being turned into a haunted house.
Now, I've heard about this, and apparently it's quite frightening.
Yes. So there's just so much going on in Derry.
Yes.
We have to get down.
We have to go to Derry and Macrofelt, the jungle up in Macrofelt.
I'm not going back
You
there.
could be chased
no.
by men wielding chainsaws. You can be chased through pumpkin fields, the lot.
I wonder if they're real pumpkins or have they been to Lidl?
But that's apparently the place to be as well, as Derry. So
it makes me quite unsettled.
Right, what you need is something to calm you down now.
Yes.
What about some new music from Cara Dillon?
Oh, I love Cara Dillon.
She's back with a fabulous new album, which is called Coming Home. It comes out in February next year. I went to see her at the Grand Opera House last week. She was absolutely amazing. And here is some new music from Cara Dillon. This is called Clear the Path.
Clear the path now. Weeds have gathered on our ancestral trail. Singers of songs long gone, poets, storytellers, artists, weavers. Give in now and surrender to them, those from whom you came. The long lines coursing through your veins. Come on and fan the flames and concentrate, for it's written on your son's face, that light shining through, blazing in a moment of grace. We are the daughters of women that we will become, the trailblazers whose lives will never be done. For they stood on the self-same soil, buried the seeds that germinated, birthed and fed a new generation of tiny intricacies, and forgotten family traits, and oft-remembered eyes and hidden talents that reveal themselves at the strangest of times. Speak of them, search for them, for they are true. Speak of them, search for them, for they hold you. Of woman that we will become, whose lives can never be done. Clear the path, clear the path, clear the path.
Okay, on the way shortly, I'll be chatting to footballing legend Gerry Armstrong, and we're going to find out about a brand new horror movie called Haunted Ulster Live. We'll tell you more right after these.
Heading to the North Coast? The Jet Centre in Coleraine offers entertainment for everyone. There's an 8-screen movie house cinema with all the best movies, 10-pin bowling, a massive arcade, soft play for the wee ones. Outdoors, there's a mini fun park and gem mining, plus an 18-hole floodlit mini golf course. Rain or shine, there's something for everyone here at the Jet Centre. Find out more at thejetcentre.co.uk.
And welcome back to Rob and Elliott Tonight. Now we're talking Halloween on the show this evening, and a new film, Haunted Ulster Live, has its Irish premiere at the QFT on Halloween night. We're going to chat to one of the stars after we take a look at the film. Here we go.
We now have a very special live broadcast for Halloween. Spooky goings on in a Belfast home. This is Haunted Ulster Live. Viewer discretion is advised.
They've set up all sorts of impressive cameras, microphones and sensors around the house.
Stephen had to come into me a couple of times. He was that scared.
He needs me to guide him to the spirit world where he can find peace.
It's unmistakable!
Truth for the life. No one shall come to the Father except through me. There stands a whore of Satan. The Antichrist is here.
You are not going to want to avert your eyes for even a second.
People say if there were black footprints beside your bed, it means he'd been there.
We need the police. Bring the army in.
A man was found in Montgomery Street in Belfast city centre. The scene is still cordoned off.
So there we go, that's called Haunted Ulster Live, and I'm pleased to say that Mark Claney, who stars in the film, joins us now in the studio. Mark, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. That looks scary stuff, and when I was watching the trailer earlier on, it kind of brought me back to, I think, the late 1980s, early 90s, and a film called Ghost Watch that Michael Parkinson did for the BBC. A lot of people will have fond memories of that.
Yes, so this is an homage to Ghost Watch, but we have to imagine if this had happened in Belfast in the 1990s, and it's a similar setup, but this time it's two local TV presenters. So you've got me, I play Jerry Burns, who's a aging hack veteran of local TV and a young up-and-coming soon-to-be star, potential Blue Peter girl, Michelle Kelly. So she's played by Amy Richardson. And we are broadcasting live from a haunted house on Halloween night, and we get a lot more than we bargained for.
I remember watching the original Ghost Watch when that came on TV. People didn't know how to take it. I mean, people thought it was real. It was real, didn't they? I mean, it scared a lot of people. Are we going to get the same kind of frights from this?
Yes, there's going to be some laughs, and because there's a lot of 90s nostalgia and some of the things that were going on back there on local TV, but a lot of frights as well. What goes on is hopefully will take people by surprise. Even the ghosts aren't what you expect them to be, but no spoilers.
Already the reviews have been really good, haven't they?
Yes, it's been brilliant. We've had really good reviews. It's been doing the festival circuit. So it had its world premiere in Fright Fest in London, and I think it's been in the Derby Film Festival and Dead Northern, the special horror festival in York. So it's had really good feedback so far. Some lovely reviews. You've got a great cast as well. Antoinette Morelli's in it too, isn't she? So Antoinette plays Sinead, who's a medium, and she comes in during this kind of TV programme set up to investigate and try to call out to the spirits and find out what's going on. This poor family are absolutely petrified. So the Irish premiere is on Halloween night at the QFT, isn't it? Halloween night at the QFT. So we kick off the new Irish horror section of the Belfast Film Festival, which is going on for the next couple of weeks, I think the 2nd to the 11th. So it's really lovely that they've asked us to be part of that. So lots of very exciting things happening. There's, nearly 2 weeks of international film, and it's really nice to be part of it.
We'll find out more about the film festival a little bit later on, but in the meantime, Mark, thank you for coming in. It sounds like a fabulous film, and something fabulous to be involved in as well. Yes,
it was a fantastic experience filming it, really exciting, and it's filmed like a TV show. You're seeing this as if these tapes have been lost for the past 20 odd years, and it has not been seen since 1998.
Wow, sounds fabulous. I can't wait to see it. Good to see you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, still to come, I'll be chatting to the radio legend Tony Blackburn, but before that, we're talking about whiskey. And it seems that everybody's releasing their own type of whiskey these days. Jean-Claude Van Damme, he was even in Belfast last week launching his. And footballing legend Gerry Armstrong has his out at the moment called Spirit of 82. Let's find out more because Gerry's with us now. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Robin, thank you.
So you've got something in common now with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Didn't even, well, I did know, but I thought my whiskey would have been launched a year ago. We've been waiting such a long time, and after COVID and a lot of delays, and then the cylinders, we had to wait a long time on the cylinders coming in. So eventually we got it launched last Tuesday.
So it's called the Spirit of 82.
Spirit of 82, yes.
Based on that iconic football moment, which was probably the biggest highlight of your career, wasn't it?
Well, playing in the World Cup, I think, is a highlight for any footballer, but for us to beat the host nation and the favourites, Spain, and me to score the winning goal, I think it was special. But then afterwards, what it meant to the people of Ireland, you know, north and south, and the celebrations and the parties in all sections of Belfast, east, west, north, south, you name it. And we just really brought the communities together, and it was such a fantastic occasion.
What's your memory of the goal? Is it a blur, or do you remember it vividly? What's the
slow motion? I've been asked about it before, and it's like, it is slow motion because when we were under the cosh, we never really got many opportunities. And the referee was South American, so the Spaniards understood him, and they seemed to get most of the decisions. And we got one chance a couple of minutes into the second half, and I can still see Billy Hamilton, who's like 6'3", Billy's a big lad, and he's running down the right wing like a winger, and he's crossing the ball in, which normally he wouldn't be able to cross his legs, but he's put in a fabulous cross, and it tempted the goalkeeper, and I was sort of, do I go for the cross originally or to wait? Yeah. And I don't know, you just work, on the time you just sort of, it happens so quickly, and I hesitated on the edge of the box and to see what the goalkeeper was going to do, and thankfully he presented it in front of me, and I kept it hard and low, and it did seem to be slow motion getting into the back of the net. Plus, there's 50,000 Spaniards in there. They're not going to cheer because they've just conceded a goal. Yeah. So you could hear the 600 or 700, the pockets all around the stadium of the Northern Ireland fans who were cheering, and I had to look around to see, because I thought, is this referee going to give it? And you look at the reaction of your teammates, they're all celebrating. But it was a special moment for me, and obviously for our wee country.
What was it like going out to play that night? Because there wasn't much hope for you guys before, was there? They didn't think you were going to do it.
Only we believed. I don't think there was, at the interviews for the fans, you know, even the fans don't think they could do it, you know. Yeah. But we did, we believed. And we were a very accomplished outfit, very well organised, with Billy Bingham obviously as our manager. And we had only conceded 3 goals in the qualifier, so we were hard to break down. And we did the job on the night.
Brilliant. Tell us about the whiskey. How did all this come about then?
It was coming up to the 40th anniversary. It was a couple of years before it, and Peter Lavery and Richard Irwin were talking to me and about the Titanic, and they were making their own whiskey, and they were saying, why don't you do a whiskey of your own? And I thought, well, it was a good idea. So we went on the adventure, and we picked a blend, and we put it away and waited till it was ready, and then you have to bottle it. Yeah. But then getting it bottled and then getting the cylinders and all the trouble we had with that, it took longer than I thought. Yeah. And I was talking to Mary Peters as well, and Mary was talking to Barry Funston, her manager, and he was saying, yeah, we were thinking of doing, and she was thinking of doing something for her 50th, which is the same year. You know, she won in the same year, but 10 years earlier, 72 instead of 82. Yes, yeah. And I think it was the September. So they did the Golden Girl Gin. Yes, of course, that was come out, and then of course I bumped into wee Carl Frampton, and he's telling me he's going to do a whiskey as well. So it all sort of happened. People, it's become very topical.
And were you a whiskey drinker?
I do like my whiskey. Yeah. You know, I like Irish whiskey in preference to Scotch whiskey, but you know, there's a lot of good whiskies out there, you know, and I wanted to make sure it was a good whiskey and it was a proper blend that people would enjoy for a special occasion.
For the whiskey fans, how would you describe your whiskey then?
It's got vanilla, it's got honey, it's got, you know, different flavours of spice in it. But I mean, I'll give you a clue. I like Middleton and I like Jameson whiskey. Yeah. That would be the whiskey I prefer. I like Bushmills as well. So it was that type of whiskey, and that's what your palate would tell you. So I opted for something that was going to be blended close to that.
And there's only a limited number of bottles being produced, am I correct in thinking that?
1,500.
Yeah, so people want them. They make a great Christmas present, wouldn't they?
Great Christmas present. I mean, I've got phone caller. I was telling you about the guy Keith. He was in Liverpool, the agent, and he was with Phil Thompson and Ian Callahan, ex-Liverpool players who were signing Shankly whiskey. And I thought, Shankly whiskey, and that's what they were launching last Friday. Right. Everybody. But like, obviously Bill Shankly's dead now, but they were signing the bottles, and he's a Scotsman, obviously, but the whiskey's Irish. Right. It's crazy. So it's I'm sort of blown away by the number of people that's got. The Muscles from Brussels has come in on the scene as well, with my mate Kevin Carson, who's behind that one. But no, I'm really pleased with it. The taste's good, and it's been a very good adventure. And we've got 1,500 limited edition, and they're going really well at the moment.
So if people want a bottle, where do they go to for that?
It's got to be Henderson's, or you go on the Titanic website or Spirit of 82 website, and you'll find the app where you can download and contact the girls at the Titanic. Siobhan, I think, is running it, and she's been really good in the operations, and the launch was great. She was great at the launch, as were Peter and the rest of the staff. They were all very good. So I'm pleased it's out eventually.
Brilliant. Last time you were here, we were talking about the Pat Jennings statue as well. We had a great night down in Canal Court Hotel in Newry. We're one step closer. I believe we've got a date and all for the unveiling of the statue, haven't we?
It's the 8th of November. Yeah. I'm really pleased that we've got that date. Well, we're hoping to have it sooner, but you know, it takes time to get everything organised. It's a big statue, and it's going to be a big day, and you know, nobody deserves it better than Pat. He's done so much for this country, and he's such a gentleman. So he'll be over on the 8th of November. Down in Newry when I think it's 12 o'clock is what it's scheduled for, and there's going to be a few celebrities there as well.
Looking forward to that. Gerry, good to see you as always.
Thanks Robin. Thank you.
Thank you. Still to come, we're going to find out about this year's Belfast Film Festival, and we're joined by radio royalty next. Tony Blackburn right after these.
Here we are on the north coast, where sporting legends are made. He needs this putt to advance to the next stage, but can he do it? The crowd are holding their breath. Can he cope with the pressure?
Dad, would you take the shot?
Yes! Yes! Well.
And welcome back to Robin Elliott Tonight. Now, people across the UK are looking for new ways to keep their family closer together, whilst also sharing the burden of financial responsibilities. To talk about this and some brand new research, I'm pleased to say we're joined by a man who it's only taken me 20 years to get on the show. Radio legend Tony Blackburn. How are you, sir?
Oh, very well, thanks, Robin. It's nice to be with you. I'm sorry you've been waiting 20 years. If I'd known 20 years ago that you wanted to talk to me, I'd have said yes, of course.
Well, we got you on the show at last. Today, Tony, we're talking about the importance of keeping our family close, as well as sharing the financial burdens. And I suppose family has become so important after COVID, when we couldn't spend so much time with our loved ones. So we are appreciating our family a lot more these days, aren't we?
Yes, well, it has. And of course, the cost of living now, and anybody wanting to buy a house, it's practically impossible. So these granny annexes from IHUS, and I've got one. I mean, the reason why I know so much about it is because we've got one where we live. We've got my mother-in-law is 100 years old, believe it or not. And she, about 6 years ago, she decided, well, she wanted to move closer to us, or we wanted her to be closer to us. And so she sold her house, and we had a little bit of land at the side of ours. And so she put the money towards that, and we built the annex for her. And it's terrific. She's been there 6 years now. She's very happily there. And any problems that we have, you don't have to get in a car and worry about her or anything, because she's next door.
Yes.
These annexes, a lot of people who are older, they might have lost their, husbands or wives or something like that. They're living by themselves, a little bit lonely. But they do want their own independence. And also, you don't necessarily want your member of the family living with you as such, but it's good to have them next door. And it's terrific. And IHUS, they do all the work for you. They do the planning permission, and they come and build these things, and they only take about 6 to 8 weeks.
Now, we've discovered from the latest research that about 2 in 5 people would be quite happy to have their family or their in-laws living with them.
Yeah. How about the other 2, though? Yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the great thing. But it's fabulous. It's worked very well for us. And I've been around quite a few of the annexes as well. I've been doing a bit of filming for IHUS. And another great thing is, of course, if you get a granny that is living next door and you've got young children, if you're a younger couple, you've immediately got the babysitters there. So all the younger people can go out and enjoy themselves and leave the kids with the grandma. And the grandmas love it, of course, because they love having the children around. So that's great. And some of the grandmas as well, they're very good cooks. So the mums and dads have the children with the grandma. When they come back, they've got a meal waiting for them.
Now, talking about age and getting older, you're somebody who never seems to get older, but the older you get, do you get worried about it?
Well, I'm 80 now. I don't like being 80, to be absolutely honest with you. It's not my favorite sort of time of life, but you've just got to live with it, really. And your body does change when you get to 80. It's a funny thing. You become more aware of it. You become more aware of the time is slipping by. So you're more aware you've got to enjoy every single moment that's coming along. I mean, David Hamilton, a friend of mine, he's 85. And I only found out because he always kept his age a secret. And we were flying out to Nashville together to do some filming. And he left his passport open. And I saw that he was 5 years older than me. And I said, I know how old you are now. And he said, oh, no, that's not my proper passport. And I said, oh yes. But he says he's in the corridor now. And I thought, oh, no, I don't like that thought at all. But it's true.
And you had quite a serious health scare recently, didn't you?
Yes, I had sepsis. I'd never known what that was until I got it. And I got pneumonia at the same time and blood poisoning, which went into the heart. So I was in hospital for a couple of months, having a lot of antibiotics, very strong antibiotics. And but I seem to be all right now, but it was a bit of a scare. And my whole family one time were around my bed, and I thought, this isn't good. Yeah. I didn't realize how unwell I was, but I pulled through it now. And my heart specialist has given me the go-ahead and says, okay, so take it a little bit easier, which I'm doing. I've cut down, because I'm doing a touring show, a Sound of the 60s theatre show. We've been doing that for the last 4 years. And I was doing 3 a week. Now I've cut it down to 1 a week. And we have 6 months a year in the theatres and 6 months out of the theatres. So just taking it slightly easier, but not very much.
And you haven't been to Belfast with that show yet?
Well, I don't know if we've been invited to come there. I'm not sure. And it's we wanted to go very much to Scotland, and we've been to Edinburgh and Glasgow. We'd love to come over to Northern Ireland. It's always it's just the travelling and getting the whole band together. But I'd love to come over to Belfast. Yeah, absolutely. I did the tour. I did the sound of the Radio 1 roadshow there many years ago. I had a lovely time out there. But we'd love to come over, yeah.
So the live show's going well. The 60s radio show is going well. And I'm sure you will agree with me as well that the 60s music is still relevant today. It's popping up in TV commercials. It's being sampled in songs all the time. So what's your thoughts on radio bosses who don't think that the 60s music is relevant anymore?
Well, we're filling the theatres with the 60 show. I mean, we're going to theatres that hold 2,000, 2,500 capacity, and we're selling out. So there is something. Yeah, I can never understand this. Radio stations aren't playing as much 60s music, and I don't understand it. To any radio boss that doesn't think the 60s is relevant anymore, I think they should be considering finding another job, as far as I'm concerned, because the 60s music is absolutely fabulous. And the music we have today is, some of it's very good, but I don't think it's going to last 60 years like some of the Motown and Philadelphia music does. And but it's terrific, and it's lovely music, and it's got a melody to it. That's what I love about it. But our shows are designed for audiences 45, 50 and over. And that's the audience that I'm after, and I'm getting that in the theatres, and we're having great fun, and it's a fun evening out. So yeah, I'm very aware that they don't play so much 60s music on the radio stations these days, and I think it's a shame. I think it's a great shame.
Now, what about new artists? Who are you listening to and enjoying at the minute then?
I like, one of the artists I do like very much indeed is somebody called Rumer.
Yes.
Very much like the Carpenters. You know, she's got that lovely, lovely voice. I also like Sophie Ellis-Bextor, actually, as well. She comes out with some really good records. And of course, my favourite, Alicia Keys and people like that. There are a lot of really good artists around at the moment as well, and you know, and on a local radio show I do a BBC local radio show every Sunday, a 4-hour show, and I choose all the music on that, and I put in a lot of new records there as well, plus the oldies. You know, probably about 2 new records an hour. That's enough, but there are a lot of really good records out at the moment, but they're few and far between. And sometimes when, you know, they go for weeks and you think, oh, there isn't one really worth playing here. But of course, one's got to own up to the fact the 60s, there was a lot of rubbish that came out in the 60s. And so we play the best of the 60s. I mean, you know, out of 100 records that came out in a week in the 60s, probably there were about 3 or 4 that were quite good. The rest of them, we forget about them.
Now, humour has always been very important to you, and you love it when people send in jokes, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I started telling jokes in the 60s, and I used to write them out on the pirate ships when I was out on Radio Caroline and Big L Radio London. I wrote the stuff. But then when I took over Sound of the 60s, I decided that I wouldn't tell the jokes anymore. But then, strangely enough, the listeners started sending in these jokes, and they were really good. They're much better than the ones I was using. But now, I don't use any of my own jokes. They send the jokes in. We've got 1 or 2 people that, you know, I always know I can rely on. There's Gino in Eastbourne, and there's Farmer Fred, I think his name is, in I think he's in Norfolk, and he is actually a farmer. I met him. Wow. And he came to one of our Sound of the 60s shows, and he sends in some really funny gags. So we do use those, and but I can't be blamed for any of it. That's the great thing.
Now, you've got loads of followers on your socials, and the people out there are loving your compositions, aren't they?
Yes, I used to be a singer with a dance band in Bournemouth many years ago in the 60s, and I used to be a guitarist and singer. And I can play the piano a little bit, but if you study it, it's all in the same key. And it's not, I'm very limited on the piano. So I started doing these silly songs on social media, and as a joke, of course. I mean, the last one I did, it was all about autumn leaves, I think it was. It took me 3 minutes to make that one up. I mean, none of the songs that I put up, but it's lovely because people see the joke, and I get terrific, you know, this is wonderful, it's going to be a #1. And I love doing them, they're a bit of fun. But I don't do too many of them. Because, of course, as a great songwriter, you can't keep turning out these great hits, can you?
You've achieved so much from the 1960s right up to the present day. Is there still any ambitions you have left? Anything you still really want to achieve?
Do you know, I honestly don't think so. I mean, I'm very lucky at the age of 80 to be on Radio 2 and doing the shows that I do. And then the theatre shows coming along as well. That was a real plus because I love doing live stuff and also being in the theatre. You know, I did loads of discos, but I don't do discos anymore. There's a certain amount of satisfaction seeing an audience in front of you. And I remember when I was asked to do it, we went to Milton Keynes and saw a show there. And my wife said, and there were about 2,000 people in there, she said, "Do you think you can really do it, go up on the stage and do that?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so." And it's worked really well, and I love it. I joke around with the audience, and I have the singers and the band that I'm with. We're all friends now. We've been together for such a long time, and we just get together and have fun. And I think it reflects on the audience as well because they have fun with it. And as we go on, and as the theatre, the things gone by, we get even more and more people coming. We're packed out everywhere. And I think a lot of people are coming along now, not just for the 60s music, but just to see whether I'm still alive. So I think, and then when they leave, they're not quite sure.
Now, if I had to push you for your all-time favourite song, what would it be?
It's very difficult, but I loved, when I got released as a single, I'm Still Waiting by Diana Ross. I love that song because I'd been divorced about 14 or 15 years and hadn't met anybody that I really wanted to sort of be with. And it sums up where I was. I was a bit lonely at the time. And this particular record, I'm Still Waiting by Diana Ross, I heard it on an album and I rung Motown up and I said, "You've got a terrific song here." And I said, "You really should release it as a single." And they did. And it went to #1 here and in America. And it's just a beautiful song. So that's one of my favorites. But having said that, I've got loads of favorites as well.
Now, just to finish on, Tony, coming back to the family stuff, is it true that you offered to DJ at your daughter's wedding and she actually turned you down?
I said, well, yeah, she's getting married in June next year. And I said, you know, if I can, she was saying, "Oh, we've got to get a DJ for this and, you know, a band and everything." I said, "Well, you don't need to look for a DJ." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, look." I said, "I'll do it for you." So she said to me, "Oh, we don't want a cheesy disc jockey." So I said, "Well, I can't, you don't want me?" She said, "No." So, but then she suddenly changed her mind and I'm playing Hard to Get now. I think she said to me that she's now given me, she said, "You can have 20 minutes. So I don't know. I'm going to do it, but I've insisted that I'm allowed to play YMCA.
You have to do that at a wedding.
Yeah, I said to her, I'll get the audience going with the songs that I've got. And I said, but they will be a bit cheesy. But I said, but my stuff will get people on the dance floor. Whoever you book there, well, they won't because they'll play all that weird stuff. But so I'm going to be allowed to have 20 minutes, I think, or something like that.
Definitely. Tony, lovely meeting you.
It's very kind of you. Thanks for inviting me. And we must come over to Northern Ireland and do our show there sometime. And you must come along. I'll get you a free ticket.
I will be there.
Whether you want to come along.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Robin. Thank you.
Fabulous stuff. Great talking to Tony Blackburn there. Right, we're going to find out what's happening at this year's Belfast Film Festival right after these.
Let the good times roll at Super Strikes at the Jet Centre. You can now book your lane online. We've got 14 bowling lanes and 4 mini bowling lanes. Plus we serve delicious hot food and snacks, or enjoy a cold beverage with your food after the game. Discover bowling today at the Jet Centre. Jet Centre, entertainment for everyone.
This is Mr. McCandles.
Hello, Bella.
So there we go, it is that time of year once again for the Belfast Film Festival. It's back between the 2nd and the 11th of November. And to tell us about this year's big highlights, Rose and Jessica from the festival join us in the studio. Welcome back, good to see both of you again. Another exciting packed programme again with something for everyone, isn't there?
There truly is. Well, we like to believe that there is, yes. And we have, we're especially happy this year, I think, with our opening and our closing. Our big gala events are particularly huge films, and huge films with Irish angles to them as well, which doesn't happen every year. So we're opening with Andrew Haig's All of Us Strangers, which stars Paul Mescal and Andrew Scott.
Hello.
Hi.
Saw you looking at me from the street. I'm assuming you're not with anyone. Never see you with anyone. Is this your mum and dad?
Yeah. They died just before I was 12. I'm trying to write about them at the moment.
How's it going?
Strangely. Hi.
Hi.
Is this real?
Does it feel real?
Our boys back home?
Our son. Look at you. You were just a boy. And now you're not.
It is truly, though, I think it's Andrew Scott's movie. It's a really, really beautiful, very haunting, very moving film, and a filmmaker who we have supported in Belfast since his breakout film Weekend a few years ago, many years ago actually. And Andrew Haig himself, the filmmaker, has quite a few Northern Ireland connections as well. So it's just the perfect opener for us, I think, really. And it's going to figure largely in, I think, the awards conversation coming up, as will our closing film, which is Poor Things, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos.
This is Bella. Bella, this is Mr. McCandles.
Hello, Bella.
No, she's an experiment.
Good evening.
Her brain and her body are not quite synchronized. But she's progressing at an accelerated pace.
Tell me, where did she come from?
I shall. For it is a happy tale.
Yeah, I'm hearing tips for Oscars and things around this one.
So Poor Things is going to be everywhere. So if you want to get in on the ground floor and see it before everybody else does, this is definitely the time to do it. It stars Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, Mark Ruffalo, and Emma Stone, I am very, very sure, is going to be nominated for Best Actress, and she very well might win for this performance. It's an absolutely crazy, brilliant, very joyous film. It's wonderful.
We've also got the gala screening of The Last Rifleman with Pierce Brosnan, who's looking very old in this photograph, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's actually made up to look a lot older than he actually is, and it's a really interesting departure for him. It's a very different, it's a very different Pierce Brosnan than we're used to. And yeah, it's a really great story. It's based on a true story, and it's a fantastic local production, and yeah, it's going to be great.
And lots of local actors popping up. Tara Lynn O'Neill, Ian McElhenney, they're all in this as well, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a fantastic supporting cast, actually. Yeah, there's familiar faces like those, and yeah, it tells the story of an elderly veteran who goes for the first time to France, but he kind of escapes his old people's home, his nursing home, and takes a kind of an odyssey to the commemorations in northern France. And along the way, he meets a lot of people, and they all share stories, and it's a really interesting, heartwarming portrayal.
Sounds amazing. Okay, as well as those kind of movies, you're supporting all the local stuff as well, in particular the shorts as well. You do a big competition around that every year, don't you?
Absolutely. Once again, our shorts competition, and we have a brilliant selection team, and they rigorously select the very best of the submissions that we receive every year. We get more and more and more submissions every year. It just is such a strong field. It's a real task for them to select the these fantastic films, but that's going to be very competitive and a really great selection.
Yeah. A large programme, but it just, I think, goes to show just how much the reputation of our shorts film competition is growing.
As well as the new movies, I've just noticed Sunset Boulevard, directed by Billy Wilder's popping up as well this year.
That's right, yes, exactly. Well, we have to mix in some of the older stuff there, and actually that's part, one of the focuses this year. When we were drawing up the programme, obviously the Writers Guild was still on strike, and as we sit here now, the actors are still on strike. So one of the focuses that we decided to build our programme around, and I think we might be one of the only festivals in the world to do this, is to really actually embrace that and to work in a kind of a certain revolutionary and subversive edge to this year's competition. So to this year's festival selection. So one of the aspects of that is talking about screenwriting and screenwriters. And so Sunset Boulevard is there as part of our Screenwriters on Screen retrospective. So we have 3 films which feature the travails of Hollywood screenwriters, and Sunset Boulevard very much fits into that. We also have Barton Fink by the Coen brothers, and Adaptation, directed by Spike Jonze and written by Charlie Kaufman, which is starring Nicolas Cage as well. So those are our 3 retrospectives, and they're all built around this idea of how hard it is to be a screenwriter.
And Sunset Boulevard fits in nicely because it's just reopened, of course, in the West End with Nicole Scherzinger, and our very own Rachel Tucker playing Norma Desmond on a Monday now as well.
That's right. So, yeah. That's right. The stars have really aligned for Sunset Boulevard at the moment. Yes.
Hedda Hopper speaking. I'm talking from the bedroom of Norma Desmond. Don't bother with a rewrite, man. Take this direct. Ready? As day breaks over the murder house.
Yes, you'll read the big black headlines about Norma Desmond and this Hollywood scandal. But you'll never read the true story about the rest of us who were part of it.
I see King Kong is making an appearance. I just opened to that page.
Absolutely, yeah. King Kong, that's actually the Strand Cinemas event, and they're showing King Kong on 35mm on a print, and it's because it's the 90th anniversary, so obviously an icon of Hollywood, and that's a really fantastic sort of event that we have, and I would go to that if I wasn't probably doing other things that night, but it's one of the things that I would absolutely love to see. I think it's going to be a brilliant experience.
Tell me about Kneecap as well, because they're an act that everybody's talking about at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited for the Kneecap event. It's actually a work in progress event, which is something we sometimes do at the festival, where it's a film that isn't completed yet. So it's not a premiere. It's actually just looking at clips of the film with the filmmaker, Rich Pepiat, and the director of photography, Ryan Kernahan. So they're going to be discussing their process and showing us some exclusive clips. So that's going to be really exciting.
Brilliant. Okay, I've had to push you for a favourite or a highlight, 1 or 2 highlights, Jessica. What would you choose?
Well, I'm going to have to, I'll shout out two particular highlights, which obviously encompass a whole bunch of things, each of them. But firstly, I'm going to have to shout out my international competition. This is only the 2nd year that we're running an international competition. Last year's was such a big success, and it is for first and second filmmakers. And it's for a selection that's from all over the world. So we have a film from Sudan, we have a film from Mongolia, we have 2 films from the UK. So we're trying to be as global as possible, and I think it's a really interesting selection for people to come in if they're the kind of cinephile who isn't just interested in what's going on right now, but wants to invest in the future of cinema and see where the trends are going. So that's one thing that we're always going to be very excited about. And I'm particularly made up with this particular selection. I think it's really, really great. I travel to a lot of film festivals all over the world, so this to me is the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop.
You've got the best job in the world.
I do have the best job in the world. I really do. So this is me bringing back the spoils of my great job and sharing them with the Belfast audiences, which is really exciting. So there's that, and then also we're just incredibly honoured, especially because of this focus that I was saying this year. So we have this focus on screenwriters, but also on strikes and on work processes, and in the many ways that capitalism and the gig economy can be oppressing us these days. So we have a kind of a focus on that as well. And within that, we're incredibly lucky and incredibly honoured to be able to be awarding a true pioneer of independent cinema in John Sayles. So John Sayles is a 2-time Oscar-nominated screenwriter, but he's also a director, and he and his producer, Maggie Renzi, are responsible for one of the most highly political but really beautiful and incredibly well thought through and thoughtful filmographies in the independent cinema world. He's almost regarded as the father of US independent cinema. So we're showing several of their films, and he also has an In Conversation event, which will be really thrilling for anybody who is even remotely interested in the history of film and in the history of independent cinema and how to maintain an independent spirit in a world that's becoming increasingly corporate and an industry that's becoming increasingly corporate.
Okay, Rose, I'm going to push you for a couple of highlights. What's yours?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously so many to choose from, but personally, I'm really excited about, there's a documentary that we're showing called Last Things by an artist filmmaker called Deborah Stratman. We're actually doing it in conjunction with a group here in Belfast called Graw Night, and they do nights around, sort of mixed arts nights around the celebration of like ancient stones and how they've been sort of inspiring artists for like thousands of years. So it's a documentary about rocks and about, so how these things kind of exist all around us for the history of time and how they, come from biological matter, plant matter, and then, the processes around that and how they come from space and how some of the rocks that we have here on Earth that have come from space are actually older than the universe. So like that's, it's a really brilliant film. It's like a balm, like a salve for sort of current anxieties about like the climate crisis and the end of the world and things. And it's just going to be a really, really great night, just a celebration of film and also of music with Vicky Langan, the sound artist who's coming to perform as well. And that's going to be in the Black Box. There's also another event I'm really excited about, which is a dog-friendly screening.
Wow.
So we're actually showing this fantastic documentary called Whose Dog Am I?
Right.
And the filmmaker is from the Hungarian sort of a minority that live in Romania on the border with Hungary, and it's about his sort of search for meaning, I guess. Like it becomes a sort of a political exploration, but it starts off with him wanting to find a mate for his dog. He has this rare breed, this rare Hungarian breed, this kind of sheepdog, and it's a very hilarious dog as well. Like it's one of the most funny sort of documentary characters.
And the dogs speak. There's lots of
the dogs speak. Obviously, that's just going to be fantastic for the dogs in the room as well. They don't need translation.
Talpos, gyere ide! Gyere ide! Lábhoz! Lábhoz! Gyere ide! Nos, kicsit makacs a kutya, autonóm gondolkodású. Az autonóm gondolkodás is magyar nemzeti tulajdonság. Kellett nekünk kicsi kutya. Beleszólt a politika.
So it's going to be really fun. That's also in the Black Box.
That sounds like a first. I mean, this is amazing stuff, isn't it? If people want more information, they want to book their tickets, where can they go to for that?
Yeah, belfastfilmfestival.org is the place to go.
We will do that. Thank you for coming in, and the best of luck with this year's festival.
Thank you very much.
So there we go. That's all we have time for on the show this week. We'll see you back here same time next week. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Movie House Cinemas. Popcorn? Yes, please. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the movie. Reclining chairs? Don't mind if I do. Action, thriller, romance, we got it all. Discover the cinema today. Movie House Cinemas, home of the movies.